the feminine energy, whether you're in a biologically male, female body, whatever it is, just the fact that we're bringing this awareness and this slowness to the aspect of community building, because yes, for most of crypto is driven by male developers, male community builders, and there's been a real emphasis on speed. And I literally had some, in the first DAO that I worked for as a product manager, the tagline was, if you're not fast, you're dead. So I would like to rewrite that script. And although so there's irony here, but this is actually really important. It's like we're solving some of the most important issues, and we don't want to like lollygag per se, especially when it comes to like climate and mental health. Like these are really vital issues. But also, if we try to go fast for the sake of being fast, we may never reach our destination. This is a marathon and not a sprint. And I really like what you guys laid down here around reach out to the communities you're wanting to serve and build those relationships maybe outside of the Web3 space if they're not onboarded yet, and find out maybe how they would like to be onboarded or what they need. And I think that speaks to like also just sort of like community building or product management 101 is like iterate before you build. Or walk before you run. Yes. So I would love to see if there are any like audience questions or curiosities that are alive for you guys right now. Maybe people thinking about building impact projects, or really anything that you have for these panels. Margaret wants to chime in.
Can I just add something about the feminine energy? Just because, so the world needs feminine energy, but Web3 especially, I have gone into spaces and felt what is present. And like, I will just say being here in this room feels so delicious to my body in a very somatic way. In the sense that just like, there is something present which is not always present in all the spaces that I personally enter into. And especially with Web3, you will go into rooms, you will go into communities, you may be the only woman, non-binary, trans, whatever, however you identify, you may be the only person there. Or you may be offering things where everyone looks at you like you are insane. This happens to me all the time. Like, people are like, what are you talking about? And to me, it's something that seems so obvious. I'm like, this is water. What do you mean? How do I have to explain what care looks like to you? How do I have to explain why it's important at the beginning of a meeting to check in so people can be present, and someone whose baby, just they put their baby down for a nap, can like have a second to decompress before they jump into this meeting. Like, these are really simple human things, and not everyone is yet bringing that into the spaces that they move. And it is something that's so lacking in Web3, and it's just like the feminine energy is like water moving through a desert where the ground just soaks it up. So at the same time that it is needed, I just want to say, like, nourish yourself, have good boundaries, say no, say no thank you, you know, like ask for payment, like, you know, like really advocate for yourself, find your allies, find people who also will support you, because it can be a lot, and just like there is need, and like slow and steady.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Can I just quickly respond to that? Sorry. I think what you just said was amazing, and also goes back to what you were saying about like remembering why you're here. If you're here, if you're inside of Tees because you want to do like a quick flip and make lots of money, and that's why you're doing it, that's great. That's what you want to do. If you're here because you want to engage with other communities and make a difference in a different way, then remember that, because there'll be so many people who will tell you that what you're doing is the wrong way, and that things have to be done in a certain way, and you have to be running in this race and trying to catch up with everyone else. But just take a step back and say, no, that's not why I'm here, that's not what I'm trying to build, and so I'm going to do things a little bit differently.
Yeah. Yes.
do we have any audience questions for our panelists? All right, let me bring the mic to you.
What do you think will be different after this crypto winter, whatever it's market cap term, whatever we want to call it? What do you think will be different on the flip side coming out of it?
Good question.
I think on one hand, I mean, this sounds weird, and like obviously it's not like a great situation if it affected anyone monetarily, but in the sense of to the point of slowness and building, like I almost feel like it allows people to take a step back from that fast pace to really reconsider the intentionality of specific projects, the longevity, the utility, the scalability, if there is, you know, a larger audience that's going to be using that product. And so I think on one hand, what will come out of it, I don't know when, I wish I knew, but I hope and believe what will come out of it are like a lot of stronger projects. I think this is also going to test the viability of some projects that were maybe built in this fast-paced nature, that where people were trying to get things out as quick as possible without really, you know, putting a lot of strong foundations underneath them. And so I think it will be a lot stronger, more viable projects. And I also think, you know, perhaps the people who were in it for like a get-rich-quick thing that may or may not have been successful, like there may be less of that, which, you know, maybe less risky, you know, behavior in this space. I think with some risk comes some reward and creativity, and good things can come from it. But I ultimately I think it will make the whole space stronger. That's what I personally believe and hope.
Does anyone else want to respond to that question?
Yeah, I'll just amplify what Claire said in that I think of this a bit like, I don't know what the technical forest term is, but when you burn areas of the forest in order to invite new growth, and the way that indigenous communities in North America had done that for generations. And when we stopped those practices, now we are dealing with different types of forest fires, and the way that our building has and zoning has like encroached on natural land, and what's something that's actually really natural and organic has kind of rearing up in a way they didn't expect because we stopped their natural rhythm. So I really see this as great. Like we had, crypto had a ton of VCs, a ton of traditional institutions, Web2 institutions, just people with money flooding into the system, feeling the energy of this space and saying, hey, I want some of that. And just coming in with some good intentions, some very extracted, speculative intentions, and there was a huge like boom, which in some ways is great, but in other ways is not sustainable. And I think it's actually really healthy that this is the cycle, and in the sense that let's like burn away people who are just trying to get rich real quick. Like good for you, like, but let's make money and do something good and build value and grow our communities and help each other. Like it's not just we want to make money, period. No, thank you. That is not enough. That is not enough. And so this is, to me, like this is growing pains. This is great. This is a great time because the people who stick around are the people that I want to work with. Like the people who are in it for not necessarily forever, but to build something impactful and have additional intentions as well as making money. Because let's be real, we all do want to make money and support ourselves, but we also hopefully want to do something else in addition to that.
Yeah, I'd love to double click on that. I think many of us come to Web3 with an excitement for something new, and what we were seeing a lot this past year was the same paradigm as like Web2 sats, like money just getting dumped in and dumped in and dumped in because investors didn't want to be left out, and even in the climate space, something near and dear to my heart, we were starting to see, or starting to become more clear that what was happening is a lot of like greenwashing BS. And I think the last thing we want to see is just old world VC paradigms on the blockchain. And this is really allowing for a time of pause and reflection And I know it can be hard, but I'm also very bullish on bootstrapping efforts when it's available and driving things from the ground up with community investment where that is viable. Coco, I don't know, did you want to respond to this one as well?
Yes, I was going to say, I think intentionality is what will change, because people now will, you can't guarantee now. There's a time when you could guarantee that if you bought into a PFP project and you minted it, a 90% chance that you'd be able to sell that for more money within the next 24 hours. And now almost everything's gone to zero, which is really fun for a lot of people, including myself. But people's intentions will change now. They'll think, what is the value that I can get out of this if it's not money? Why am I here? What can I get out of this brand or this project that isn't just money? And that also changes the script for the creators as well, because we're all under closer microscopes, and people are saying, what are you actually doing, and what are your plans, and what are all of your exit plans, and X, Y, and Z, if you mean 25% or 30% or 40%. So yeah, I think it will bring more trust, because we'll be taking a closer look at what projects people are investing into.